everything that me and Leo talked about to get us to form who this character was and is.
And I do want to establish that he's the one with the photographic memory. So if I can't remember some names...
It's why I'm here. It's why I'm here.
I'm Wanamaker.
Hey, Sam, sorry about the wet hand.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm used to it with you. I just want you to know I'm the one who cast you, and I could not be more delighted that you're doing this.
Well, thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. That's a good part.
Yeah.
It's the day in the life of a man sort of going not only through an emotional breakdown, but a transition in his career and a realization that time has sort of passed him by, that culture has passed him by. But creating a character that is literally on set, working on a job that for the first time he's being sort of challenged.
Yeah. Rick Dalton represented a certain type of actor that came out in the late 50s and the early 60s. He landed on NBC on a TV show called Bounty Law. On the same year, over on CBS, Steve McQueen landed on a very similar show about a bounty hunter called Wanted Dead or Alive. And for a period of time, they were kind of similar in fame and popularity. Then both of them proved to be popular enough that during their hiatus, they started doing some a film, like a feature film. But Rick was still kind of Jake Cahill, the guy from Bounty Law. But when Bounty Law was finished, I think Bounty Law came on in the 59-58 season and ended in the 63-64 season, where it made a contract with Universal and did about 4 feature films. And so now it's 1969, and things haven't worked out for him, so now he's guesting on other people's shows, like The Green Hornet, or Land of the Giants, or Lancer, or Ron Eli's Tarzan. But by 1969, they never saw this happening. The culture had changed.
Yeah.
And now the new leading man is not He-Man kind of macho guys that put pomade in their hair. It's skinny, androgynous, shaggy-haired type guys. So now it's Michael Sarrazin. Now it's Christopher Jones. Now it's like the hippie sons of famous people like young Michael Douglas, and even Arlo Guthrie starring in movies. You know, now if Rick's going to get a part in one of their movies, he's probably going to be the cop who's busting them.
Right.
And everything he's been taught about being likable and being a leading man, and like people have to like you if they're going to want to get you into their homes. Rick doesn't understand any of this stuff as far as New Hollywood is concerned. If he was offered Deliverance, he turned it down. What? No one wants to see that. Who the hell wants to see that? He's wrong, but he doesn't know that. It's the Hollywood he'd been taught.
It's official, old buddy. Well, has been.
I think in a similar way that McQueen wasn't coming from this place where, like, say, Paul Newman was. Rick's doesn't come from the method.
Right, of course not.
Concept. I mean, he probably thinks all that. In fact, he does think all that's ridiculous. But what's interesting about when you see him do this Lancer show, where he's playing this bad guy with a director who actually believes in him, and he's not just the standard issue heavy. The whole thing that the director wants to do is change Rick's look. And Rick has never changed his look his entire career. This director wants to change your look, and one of the ways he does it is he puts a long-haired wig on you, and he puts a mustache on you, and he kind of wants you to play the leader of these rustlers as if he's the leader of a Hells Angels gang or something. But what's interesting is you have only seen yourself one kind of way, and we have only seen you one kind of way, and even the audience of this world has only seen Rick one kind of way. But when you see you in that wig, you don't have to be a relic of 1959.
Right.
You could be a modern actor.
You don't eat lunch?
I've got a scene after lunch.
Yeah.
Eating lunch before I do a scene makes me sluggish. I believe it's the job of an actor, and I say actor, not actress, because the word actress is nonsensical.
And you and I had a lot of discussions about whether, these sort of pivotal scenes with the young lady in the movie who's kind of this young Meryl Streep who's telling Rick, hey, things aren't that bad. Step up to the plate. You're a working actor, and I take my job seriously.
It's the actor's job to avoid impediments to their performance. It's the actor's job to strive for 100% effectiveness. Naturally, we never succeed, but it's the pursuit that's meaningful.
Who are you?
You can call me Marabella.
She kind of inspires him and pushes him to really take his job seriously. We had a lot of discussions about whether, whether to play through this sort of cowardly lion drapery that Rick has of this giant wig and this mustache and him feeling miserable about himself and his life. And we weren't sure whether to do, this predominant this huge chunk of Rick's character in this makeup, but it really turned out to be amazing because you see visually on this face that he's making a huge pivotal transition in his life through that makeup. And we had a lot of different talks about how do you portray this character of Rick Dalton, the humanity of him while he's on set. Line? I mean, right away we watch a tremendous amount of Westerns. Not only Westerns, but a lot of B-Westerns that I wouldn't even be able to have access to, which of course Quentin is able to screen in his screening room and has, you know, an archive of.
Which I had no problem doing, to pick 6 or 7 that I could handpick for Leo for him to watch, that I thought he would enjoy and like.
All right, this has gone far enough. Hand over the matches.
Sorry.
Don't make me kill you, mister.
And it was also kind of interesting because Leo wasn't the biggest fan of Steve McQueen, which is rare for a young male actor, because mostly young male actors like worship at the altar of Steve McQueen. And it worked. He actually liked the episodes, and he actually liked McQueen in the episodes. He liked him as Josh.
And then you start to say, wow, this guy was immensely talented, and maybe time and history had sort of passed him by.
He is one of my favorite actors. And so the idea that Leo wasn't that familiar with him, but then the next day, all he wanted to do was talk to me about Ralph Meeker. I couldn't be more happy that you were so excited about him.
We were in discussion with what kind of actor Rick is. That he had been trained in the world of television, that he had been trained, not like formally trained, but there's a real talent that lies within him that needs to be brought out, that needs to be pushed, you know, and Ralph Meeker kind of was...
Well, no, Ralph Meeker...
Whereas some of the other actors I felt, you know, didn't have the talent level that I feel, or the potential that Rick Dalton did have. Ralph Meeker did. And all those things that he gives us, I mean, not only do you get a plethora of films and television to watch, you get a massive backstory and history of who the character is and who the man is, and the relationship that he has had with Cliff in the past, which was important for both Brad and myself, because there was this immediate understanding between Brad and myself of what we'd been through. You know, if every actor could be blessed with that type of backstory going into a movie, it's every actor's dream, really.
To my right is Bounty Law series lead and Jake Cahill himself, Rick Dalton. And to my left is Rick's stunt double, Cliff Booth.
I could talk about all the different movies that Rick did and all of his credits that he did before then, and this and that, and this career versus that career. I could chapter and verse. At some point, though, you're not doing a film book about Rick Dalton. You're playing a character that has to actually be alive and carry through in scenes. I still went to the past. I would talk about this actor, say George Maharis, or that actor. I'd tell something about their life. But in talking about it, all of a sudden I would say something that Leo would kick into. And when he would kick into that, I would, oh, hey, that's an actable thing. That is something, that's a character. That's not just information, that's a character. I told Leo about this show from like the early 70s that I was a big fan of, and actually Brad was a big fan of when we were both kids. Alias Smith and Jones. And I told him about the actor Pete Dool who was on the show.
You're right, Sheriff. It isn't going exactly according to plan, but we couldn't let you take Penny out that door. You see, we promised to take her with us.
And somewhere in the second season, he committed suicide. I remember that really well back then because I was a big fan of the show, and I think it was probably the first time I ever understood the concept of suicide. Oh my God, he died. Well, how did he die? Well, he committed suicide. What's that? 7, 8, what's that? Well, he killed himself. He killed himself? Why did he kill himself? I don't know, I guess he was depressed. What has he got to be depressed about? He's Hannibal Hayes. He's the coolest guy on television. I did a little bit of research and found out a little bit that he had a bit of a drinking problem. It sounds like the guy was undiagnosed bipolar, and he had mood swings. And the reason that he was drinking was to self-medicate himself. Leo got that.
Say, Sam, you got me covered up in all this, this junk. How's the audience gonna know it's me?
I hope they don't.
See, now
Or doesn't need to be told overtly to an audience. We can just show in the day of the life of Rick Dalton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we never say the words that he's bipolar. It's just...
Look, I think he said it the best it possibly could be said.
That was the best acting I've ever seen in my whole life.
Like you.